Hi, this is Steve at Harris Web Creative. Today we're going to look at responsive navigation. I'm going to show you how to do it. There's a lot of code out there for responsive navigation. What we're going to do today is going to make a very lightweight code. It's just going to have some styling on the HTML, and I hope to end up with less than 20 lines of JavaScript to make it work. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is just create some files. I create a folder called responsive navigation, and we're going to want to create an index file. And I always use PHP for my web page coding. So the next thing, when I create a style folder and a JavaScript folder, new folder. Yes, that's good. So I'm going to just edit this with Notepad++, and I'll just bring that in here. So let's just set up our document. Okay. Inside of our body, I'm going to have a nav section. Okay. So here's why I use PHP. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a PHP include statement. Include, and we'll call it nav.php. And I need that, and my statement, and my PHP. Okay, so that will include what we're going to create in that section. So let's just do a couple other things here. We'll use a h1 tag. We'll just call this responsive navigation. And up here, we'll give it a title, and we'll give the same title, responsive navigation. Okay. And while we're up here in the head section, we may as well include a few things. We're going to link to a style sheet. So that looks sorry, I'm a fairly slow typer. Maybe that's a good thing. You guys can follow along a little easier. So that's going to be in our CSS folder, and we're just going to call it style.css. And that's it. Oh, I made a mistake there. Equals. Okay, The other thing we are going to have to do, because we're going to have some jQuery here, and I'm just going to copy and paste this, is we need to load the jQuery library. And I just use the Google's. You can get that online. And we are going to have a script. And that is going to be located in our JS folder. And I'm going to call it navscript.js. Okay, that looks like our home page done. And we're going to create a new file. Oh, like this, with a mouse. New text document, and this is going to be called nav.php. And we'll put that in our editor. So this is where we're going to put this file. Instead of writing it right here, we are going to write it here. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is create our list. Do a UL and a list item, li, and in there we will put href, and we'll just call that. We'll call this one home. We'll just copy that out. And we're going to call the second one page 1. And just copy that down. That gives us 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Page 2, page 3, page 4. Now, since this is a responsive menu, I want to add a couple other list items here. So at the top, I'm going to add a list item, and I'm going to give that an ID of mobile open. And what's going to be in there is a button. Sorry about that. Button. And close the button. And I'm just going to say menu. And then at the bottom, the same thing. And we'll have another button. And we're just going to call that close menu. Now, in our style sheet, what we'll do is we will set these to the mobile open ID and the mobile close ID to display none, so it doesn't show up until we want it to in the mobile menu. And also, first off, I'm just going to create a menu that has only top level items. Later on in the video, we'll add some second tier links and add a little bit more JavaScript to flesh it out. So anyway, let's see what this looks like. Just going to go up and save this first. And we'll bring the browser over, refresh the browser, and there we have our menu. The links don't go anywhere, but it all seems to be there. You'll notice that because I'm using PHP, I have to do this in my local host server. Anyways, so next step, let's style this a little bit. So we'll open up our CSS folder. We'll create a file called style CSS, and we will edit that with Notepad++. Okay, the first thing we're going to style is the body a little bit. Okay, for our body, I'm going to set the margin at 0, the padding at 0, and just excuse me for writing this all in a single line. It's just the way I learned. Font family, Arial, sans serif. Oh, font size. We need to do a font size. And so for the font size, I'm going to use 1 viewpoint width. Probably change that for our navigation. That's probably enough for our body right now. Let's give it a color of black. Let me close that out. That, just want to make sure. Okay, just to make life just a little bit easier, I'm just going to say that everything box sizing is border box. So that just means that the overall width and height includes the border and everything. So for our nav, I think what we'll do is we'll make it position fixed. Now we'll just keep it at the top, and I'm going to make a background with a linear gradient, and we're going to go from black to a medium gray color. Close that off. And so we're going to make the navigation color white, and our width of our nav section will be 100%. And again, I'm just going to put a margin of 0 and padding of 0. And let's, just to make sure it shows up on top of everything, I'm going to say plus 500 on that, because that index is plus 500. Okay, so that's our container basically for the nav section. So inside the nav section, with the style of the unordered list, and we're going to get rid of the bullet points, we're going to say list style none. And we want the navigation labels, or the to be aligned, text aligned center. Oh, come on. so the links will align in the center. And I'm also going to create a margin of 0 and padding of 0 for the unordered list. So now we want to, there's something wrong here. Just give me a second. I'm just going to pause the video because there's something wrong. Okay, I could tell there was something wrong because this nav here is white and it should be red. So I found I have a closing thing there and there. So now we're good. So we have to style the list items, and I'm going to do that by displaying inline block. So the navigation, the list items will line up across the page horizontally. I am going to give it a padding of 1.15 viewpoint width on the sides, on the top and bottom, and 1 viewpoint width on the right and the left of each list item, and a margin of 0. So I also want to let's just see what that looks like. So I'll just bring that over. Oh, hold on, I better save it first. Bring it over. Do that. And can't see anything, but I'll see that it's coming together. Okay, so now we're gonna style the actual links, and the first thing we'll do is make them white, and we'll take away the underline, text decoration none, and I'm going to give them some padding. Oops. We're padding the links, and I'll give that a padding of 1M on the top and bottom, and I'm just going to say 2 pixels on each side. So it's not very much. So again, I've saved that, and I just want to see if we can see them now. Oh, there they are. So we have these, and it would be nice if they did something a little different when you hovered over them. So nav ULLI a hover. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll put the hover on the list item instead of the actual link. So the whole background will change, and so I'm just going to say background, and I'll make it a medium gray. So what we get now, again, is this type of effect. You can do whatever you want. If you wanted, if you could write whatever you wanted in here for the hover. If you wanted, you could create it so the background turned white and the color of the text turned black at that time, or yellow, or whatever you want. So that's just for the hover effect. So the the next thing we want to do is get rid of the mobile buttons. So what we will do is, what did we call those? We called those mobile open and mobile close. So for mobile open and mobile close, I'm going to say display none. And they should be gone when we refresh here. There we go. So we're just left with the main links. Okay. So I think that pretty much does it for, right. So the other thing we want to do is we want to create an active class. And what an active class does is the link that's active is going to have some different styling on it. So what I'll do is I'll go over here and we'll just make the home page. Oh, and we're going to apply the active class to the list item as opposed to the link. The reason for this is in CSS there is a, in case we have to use it, there is a child selector, but there is no parent selector. So if we choose the list item, we can always, I mean, we need to style the link differently. We can always style the link using a child selector, but if we put the active class in the link, we cannot change any of the style on the list item, any of the background for the list item. So we're just going to say class equals active here. Right now it doesn't do anything, but we're going to style that active class, so active. So I think what I'll do is we'll actually select it directly, nav unordered list item active, and for the active I think we'll maybe make the background black. And again, you can do anything here. You can make the background white, text black, whatever you want. Something that makes it different. For a single tier navigation, this works just fine. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to bring this in. And what I didn't say was we are going to, so there we go. We see that the background on that is black. We are going to change that active class using some Jquery. I'm just going to pause the video for a second. So what I want to do is I just want to see how this looks with some content. So I'm just going to create a section, and I'm going to make it narrow so I don't have to add a bunch of content. And we'll say display block and margin, I don't know, 10 pixels top and bottom, and auto on the side so that it centers. So let's just save that. I'll go over to here. I'm just going to create the section. And I'm just going to go over and copy something from my, just a lorem. It's some generator, just a whole bunch of crap pasted in there. Okay, so let's bring our responsive navigation back here. We'll refresh that, and we have a bunch of content. So when we scroll, the menu goes up. There's something wrong. So I'm just going to go back there to the style sheet. Oh, yeah, position fixed. Save that. Bring it back. Refresh. And so there we go. Our navigation stays at the top as we scroll. Okay, sorry about that. What we need to do, because the navigation bar, the position is fixed at the top, we need to have something that takes up the same amount of space. This is kind of bad form, but I am going to make a div called spacer, and we're going to give it a fixed height, and that height is going to be the padding of 1.15, the top and bottom, so padding times 2, and the padding of the link is 1m, which is, again, is just the same as this. It's 1 VW. And I think that's all we have. So that's 1.15 times 2, which is 2.3, plus 1 is 3.3. So we'll give it a height of 3.3 viewpoint width, and a width of 100%. And we'll save that, and we'll paste that into index right underneath the nav as div class spacer. There we go. And we'll see if that worked. And it did. We didn't give it enough height. So I'm going to give it a height of maybe 2 more viewpoint widths. So let's just say 5 viewpoint width, 2. There we go. That looks good. Okay. So what we can see now is the content slides up underneath. Get rid of that. Underneath there. Okay. The styling is pretty much done. So the next thing we have to do is we have to take this active class and we have to apply that to the proper link up here when it is, and we're going to do that with some Jquery. So the first thing that I'll do is I'm going to go to index and I'm going to spell responsive, right? Responsive there. So that looks a little bit better. And I have to open up this, and we will go to our JS, and we will create a new document. And we're going to call that, oh, I forget what we called it. I think we called it NavScript. NavScript.js. Yes, and I'm just gonna double check that. NavScript.js, yes. Okay, so let's open that up. Okay, so one of the things that I forgot to do is to tell this that this is the index.php page. So we'll save that. Okay, we're going to write the JavaScript. So let me just check that document, test to see if the document is ready. Run a function. Oops. Run a function. that. And just to test that there, I'm just going to create an alert that says, hi there. We'll save that. That's navscript.js. And bring this in. And we'll just refresh. And nothing happened. So why is our script not connecting? Let's go to page 1. Script. Oh, that would help. And so that same mistake will have been here. Let's pull that back in and see if that works. Ah, hi there. Okay, our script is connected. Excellent. So, where's our script here? Javascript. Hi there. Let's get rid of this. And we have our document ready function. So, the best way that I have found to put the active class into the list item is to test to see if the href of the link in the list item is the same as the URL or a segment of the URL, the last segment of the URL. So how we're going to do that? We're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it page URL, and we're going to say that's the window location, the href of that, and the we're going to take a subset or a substring of that, and it's that substring is window location href, and we're going to do the last index of, and we're going to test the last slash in the URL string, and oops, and do the one before that. So I'm going to close that out, and just close out that. So let's see if that is working. And we'll do an alert, and we'll call it pgurl. Save. Bring our page back in. Refresh. And you can see here that after the last slash is page 1.php, and that's what we are getting. Good. So what do we want to do with that? We are going to select the inside the nav section, the unordered list, the list item, and the link inside of that. And it's going to run through the whole navigation. So for each of those, and for each of those, we are going to run a function. Oops. Oh, I hate when this messes up. Okay, so for each of those, and oh, that's a function, right? Okay. Okay, for each of those, if this, that is this, the active one of these, the active link that's selected by this, if I'm going to change that. If the active one, or the one that has focus, if we want to look at the attribute, and the attribute we want to look at is the href, and if that is equal to our page URL, our variable above, or if the same thing, this, if the attribute href is equal to blank, then we want to do something. So that's the close of our condition. We want it to select this. And now what we've selected is the link. So what we want to style though is the parent of the link, which is going to be the list item. And what we want to add to the list item, or we want to do this item, is add a class. And the class that we want to add is active. Okay. I think that should work. Let's just go over here and check. Bring this in and refresh the page. Click home. Oh, and it worked. There we go. Our black background for the active is showing up. Now, I just wanted to explain one thing. In a lot of these scripts, what you will find is another line that removes the class active for all the list items. We don't have to do that. The reason we don't have to do that is because if you look here, as the page loads, we're including nav.php. And nav.php does not have a active class in any of these list items at all. So what we were doing, that when the page loads, it's loading this, right? And then the script does the testing after the page is loaded. So it is only adding the active class to one of the list items. And when you click through to the next page, this nav is loaded again without any active class, and it tests again. So the next thing we want to do is make this responsive. Remember here, we had these responsive buttons. So right now, if we look at this and we inspect it, and my inspection thing is separate, and we go to responsive, we see that our navigation is not responsive. It just gets smaller. So this is set for let's set it for an iPhone 6, 7, 8 Plus. And I'll just make it bigger. There we go. But that's no good for a phone. So that has to work differently. So how we do that is through a media query. And I'm going to put that down here. Oops. Let me pull that up. Just give me a second. So I like to go to a responsive design or a hamburger menu icon at around 800 pixels. Now you may have other media queries already adjusting things as you go along, but let me just pull this back here for a second. I find that let me just take it off inspect, and we'll just do this because we set that line in the body text or in the body here, that the font, let me just move this down, the font size is 1 viewpoint width, which is basically 1% of the viewpoint width. And I can't seem to find it now. There it is. Yeah. So let me pull this back up. As we expand the width, the font size for the whole browser page varies. So you may not need other media queries before this, anyways. So let me just close something over on my other screen. So we're going to test the screen, media only screen, and maxed width of 800 pixels. So the first thing we're going to do, I'll just bring this back for a second, and let me just guess at what 800 pixels looks like. Probably like that. That's the size of the body text. That's the size of the navigation. I actually increase the size once everything folds down into the mobile design. I like to increase the body text, and I go the font size is because I program a lot of sites for old people. I usually use 16 pixels. A lot of you use 14 pixels, which is kind of standard. So the nav, something went wrong here. Nav, UL, LI. This isn't picking it up right. So I can't see what's wrong. So, oops, one too many. I don't know why this isn't working. I'm going to set the margin to 0 and the padding to 0. Remember, we had given them padding and stuff above. Oh no, we're going to set it, the padding above and below is going to be 15 pixels, and side to side it will be 0. To distinguish the each button, I'm going to give it a bottom border of 1 pic solid, and We'll give it a medium dark gray. Or medium light gray, I mean. Okay. There is something wrong here because you see our selectors are not red. So I have, oh, there, that's what's wrong. Okay. Gotta love Notepad++. So we want the menu closed when the page loads. So we do that by ULLI, and we're going to say display none. So none of them will display, and I suppose I could have put that up into this line. And we're going to give it a width of 100%. I don't know why I do those separately. Probably just the way I think. And the I'm going to give the whole unordered list a background of a dark gray. Now you can do whatever you want here. You can do a background you can use RGBA. You can make it semi-transparent so they can see the page underneath when the background folds down or slides in. We have to take care of the mobile open, and we're going to display block, and right, that's all, because the mobile closed button will not display when a page first loads. We only want, we'll create that to display in the Jquery. So if we look at this again, let me just double check that. I think I need another. I don't remember if I. All right, right. So if we refresh this and we just shrink it down, we have a menu button that does nothing because we need to write the JavaScript to make it do something. Okay, so we're just going to go over here and we're just going to continue this. So I'm just going to copy this. And take all this stuff out. And so when a document's ready, we want to create a click function for when somebody clicks this button here. We want the menu to open. So the easiest way to do that, we'll select the ID of mobile open. We have to put stuff around that. And if mobile open is clicked, we want to run a function. And the function what we want to do. Oh, we want to open the menu. And so how we open the menu is we select the nav ULLI, and we just changed their CSS styling.css, and remember we had set it in the media query to display none. So all we do is we set the display to block. Easy peasy. So now all the menu items, when you click the mobile open, all of the LIs, list items, will display block. So when you click this button here, all these will, and including this one, will display block. Right now they're displaying none. So we need to create the opposite of that. Let's close that off. We do that in the same script. So now the mobile closed button is showing, and we'll call it mobile close. And when that is clicked, we want it to run a function. Oops. And the function we want to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the first list item, which is got an ID of mobile open, and we're going to select its siblings. So that's kind of saying choose everybody except the oldest one. And all we're going to do is we're going to go back and change its styling to say the display styling, and we're just going to say none. So what this says is that when you click the mobile close, the button with the ID of no mobile close, then find the button with the ID of mobile open, and for all of its siblings, but not it, go display none. So let's save this, bring our guy back, make him small so he has a menu. Oh, we should probably refresh, and menu, and hopefully this menu will open, and it does. And you'll notice that the we're on page 1, I hope, and it closes. So we're on page 1, and we need to do a little bit more styling to get that down, but that's it. So if you have, so that finishes off the first part. If you have a single tier menu, this is all you need to do. If you have a multiple tier menu, then there's a little bit more stuff that you have to do, and I will do that in a moment. Okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to add a list item. Let's just copy this one. And we'll call it list 1A, and we'll call it page 1A. And I'm just gonna save that, take page 1, and I'll save a copy as page 1A. Save. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find that, open it up. Wrong browser. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I found it. Here it is. Edit with Notepad++. And I'll just change the title to page 1A. And page 1A. we go to our browser, which I can't seem to find. There it is. And if we just navigate right to it, page 1A. It's right there. So it needs to be under page 1. So I can just move that away. Scroll back to our nav. I did that. Okay. So now we're just gonna style it. So we come back up here to our navigation section. We start moving on. We say in the nav section, the UL, LI, and the UL that's under the LI. We want to position that. Now it's going to be positioned inside of that LI, so we're going to say position absolute, and we're going to give it a top. We're going to move it down from the top so it doesn't cover the top tier, and we're going to start with 5 viewpoint width, and we'll see when we have that whether it's going to be far down enough. So then what we want to do is the nav UL LI UL LI. So the list items that are under the list item, and we don't want them to display, and we're going to give them a background color of a dark gray, and so that if you have a bunch of them, we're going to, and they're separated, we're going to give them a border on the bottom, solid, and I'm going to do 2 picks so it's prominent, and I'm going to make it light against, so it's going to be a light gray border against a dark gray background. And the same thing for those in the hover state. We want to show that you're hovering over it. So I will give it a background of a medium gray. Oops. Okay. So that should position that page 1A where we want it. So let's just say that. Oh, it didn't. It didn't. Okay, give me a second. What did we do wrong here? Huh. Save. And let's go to page 1 and do a hard reboot, and it's still not working. Just give me a second here. Okay, this all looks right. Position absolute top, and it should be inside of this list item. Oh, we didn't close this list item off. Okay. So let's bring that back and see if that works. Did we save this? That's right. Oh, no. We have to. That's just another list item there. We have to enclose that in an unordered list tag. You guys were probably yelling at me, saying when I did that, I was doing it wrong. Let's try that again. There, and it's gone. Okay, so it's there underneath, and it's displaying none. So now we have to write a script that will drop down that menu down into here when we hover over this item. So let's open up our JavaScript, and so the script we're about to write is something like this one, and I'm just going to copy this, and instead of mobile open, we're just going to use a hover function. But we don't want to do this all the time. So we decided in our style sheet, in our query, that we're going to display the hamburger menu at 800. So what we're going to do here is we're only going to run this function when the screen width is greater than 800. So I'm just going to say, test the screen width, create a variable var x, and the var x will be the window inner width. I did that wrong. Okay. So suppose we can test that. Alert x. Let's bring that back over here. Hopefully we'll get an alert. And the screen width is 1536. Okay, so let's shrink it and reload the page, and screen width is 767. Very good. Okay, so we know the script is connected. Let's take that alert out. So if x screen width is greater than 800, because at 800 it's going to change. So if it's greater than 800, what we want to do is we're going to choose, or we're going to select the nav ul li. This is the top level nav, and when you hover over it, what's going to happen is we're going to run a function. And the function is going to say that we're going to choose this, which is what is active, and we're going to use the find method and find the ULLIs, and that's going to be okay. It's going to find the ULLIs under here, under this. We've already selected this. This is what's active. Now we're going to look further down the tree to find the next ULLI. If there isn't anything, If there aren't any of these, nothing's going to happen. But if there is something, we want them to change the styling. And how we want it to change the styling is how we've been changing the styling all along. We want it to display block in that statement. Okay. So the I shouldn't have ended that statement. So the function, the hover function has, as opposed to on hover, the hover function has a callback. So when you stop hovering, you can run another function. And that's what this is saying. The comma says the callback. Whoops. So the other function is, again, this. And we're going to find the same things, ULs and LIs, under the active one of these. And we're going to change the styling to display none. Okay. So what this is doing is, if we are in desktop screen sizes and I hover over a first level menu item, we will display the menu items that are second, third, fourth, whatever's underneath there. When you stop hovering, when this is no longer true, then we're going to display none. So let's have a look and see if that works. Pull that over, refresh. So here we are at 1, here we are at 2, 3, 4, so that's all fine. And we get to page 1, and it does have 1. Now, remember I said we're going to have to look at that styling, because what happens here is you're leaving this before you reach it. So we have to move those closer together. So we do that in our styling. So where did we do that? Position absolute top 5 VW. Let's change that to 4. And we'll figure it out later. You guys can figure it out. It's just styling. So refresh. And we're at, there you go. And you can go down and you can click to page 1A. So there's one more thing we have to do, is we have to change these selectors in here. So we're going to change it to these selectors, to the specific selector. And that way what happens, I'll show you the screen. If I hadn't changed that, what happens is when this list item is changed as active, it would change all of these instead of just, or if this is changed, we go there, then they would all change, and not just this one. See, it's a black background. It would have changed them all. So in doing this specific selector, it selects only that active one and makes it a black background. So save that. And so that's it. That's your responsive navigation. We'll have one more look at it. There it is. I will create a post, and I'll embed this video into the post, and I will include all of the code in the post so that you can just copy and paste it. But I hope you followed along, and I hope you learned something, and good luck, and keep coding. Thanks.